right, let's talk Los Angeles Chargers here for a little bit. Look, it's obviously been an exciting offseason for the Chargers. A lot of big moves, a lot of great news. Team heading in the right direction, no doubt. But there's one kind of smart, under the radar move the Chargers have made in terms of the strategy they're taking that I don't think is getting the play. And it's really kind of really smart stuff. To kind of break it down, though, let's go into some data first. Let's pull up this tweet. This is from Next Gen Stats to kind of break it down a little bit. So this tweet here breaks down how edge defenders and linebackers entering the NFL have gotten lighter and lighter over the past 4 draft classes. This is breaking in the latest data from the combine. Both position groups, this is from the tweet, and this year's class were among the top 2 lightest players over the top 2 lightest classes, excuse me, over the last 2 decades. The edge defenders were 255.3 pounds. That's the lightest in the last 2 decades. Linebackers, 231.8. That's the second lightest in the last 2 decades. Obviously, defenses are getting smaller. They're getting faster, trying to rush the passer. What is the antidote to that? How do you beat that? Everyone's going small. What do offenses really need to do? What should they do? Play power football. They need to run the ball down people's throat. If a team goes small, you pound the rock. And what did the Chargers do this offseason? What did Coach Harbaugh do this offseason to hire as his offensive coordinator? He hired the one guy in football who gets criticized for playing too much old school power football, Greg Roman. I think this is a perfect example of the NFL zigging. Smart team, smart coach. The Chargers now finally are zagging. I love this from LA. It looks like the hiring of Coach Greg Roman was a sneaky good move for the Chargers. Myers, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Chargers fans in the comment section below, of all the moves Coach Harbaugh has made up to this point, which one do you think will have the biggest impact? Obviously, we're talking about the offensive coordinator right now, but there's been a million of them. Give us the move you think Harbaugh has made up to this point that you think will have the most positive impact on this team, and put it in the comment section below. But Miles, give me your thoughts on the stats, the hiring of Greg Roman, and what it means for the Chargers, the fact they're taking kind of a different approach.
Yeah, Nick, I think this is a really interesting move by the Chargers, like forethought, planning ahead type of move, bringing a guy like Greg Roman. As you look back at some of Greg Roman's most successful years, we go 2019 Ravens, we see that historic rushing offense. What they do? They got really big. They bring in a 3 tight end set with Hayden Hurst, Nick Boyle, Mark Andrews, and even you might consider it a 4 tight end set with Patrick Ricard, the fullback, in there as well. This was one of the beefiest sets in all of the NFL at this time, and they absolutely dominated. I look for a team like the Chargers. You bring in Greg Roman, you're going to start getting some beef in the tight end room. They already got a guy who's really big in his own right with Donald Parham Jr. You know, he's 6'8", 240. So they got some beef in the tight end room. You might see him pull in a fullback, something like that, you know, a bigger running back. And I really like another thing they've done so far with not paying Austin Eckler a whole ton of money. Because what is one other thing Greg Roman did in that historic rushing season with Baltimore? He did that running back by committee. You don't need one super lead back. They did it with, J.K. Dobbins. They had Gus Edwards. They had the pass cashing back in Justice Hill. So there's a lot of interesting things I see. I think the Chargers are moving towards. They might not go exactly the same. Maybe they just give a little bit of dose of that Greg Roman style to the offense. But I can see them making some really smart moves. And the data that you bring up, I think it makes perfect sense. Guys are getting lighter on the defensive side of the ball. Get the heft on the offense. And let's play that old school power running football to a certain extent.
It just kind of, it sounds obvious, but a lot of NFL teams just screw this up. And I look at the Dallas Cowboys this past season are a great example of this. Former defensive coordinator, now head coach in Washington, Dan Quinn, he was kind of on this train. He's like, hey, let's go really small. Let's put a lot of great cover linebackers. Let's put speed pass rushers all over the field. In fact, they had a safety, literally a safety, a rookie, a guy who was drafted as a safety. They moved him to linebacker because they thought that would give him an advantage in the pass coverage game. But what teams figured out, certainly the quality teams the second half of the season against Dallas, is we can literally just go tight formation, heavy formation, multiple tight ends, 2 running backs, pound the football down their throat, and then do play action off that, and they won't be able to stop it, right? And that's exactly what teams did against Dallas. We saw in that playoff game against Green Bay is the perfect culmination of that. The reality is what Dallas did this past season, we're starting to see that more and more throughout the rest of the NFL. Teams are going smaller and smaller and smaller on defense, and the solution to the way a lot of other offenses are taking it is, oh, we just need to keep butting our head against the wall, right? Well, if they're going smaller, we just have to stay with what we're doing and hope it works, right? That's dumb. That doesn't make any sense. But a lot of teams do this, right? Honestly, I think Kellen Moore was a big his thing. He had his mentality. If teams adjusted, he's like, nope, this is what I'm going to do no matter what. And we saw what happened this past season with the Los Angeles Chargers, right? It was a total disaster. Now it's not just Kellen Moore, it's a lot of other offensive coaches. Harbaugh's taken a different approach. He's like, listen, I've got a tried and true power football methodology I've used in the past, and I've got an offensive coordinator I know who can run and execute that. And lo and behold, I've got a league I'm going into now that literally cannot stop this kind of football concept. Why would I do anything different? This is so easy. This is so obvious. And in fact, I just won a national championship at the University of Michigan with a very similar concept. Let's just line up and play power football. And here's the beauty of it is that even if teams look at the Chargers and they look at a power football offense, if they run a very Baltimore Ravens-ish kind of scheme, here's where the Chargers are going to be really tough to stop. I love Lamar Jackson. He is not in Justin Herbert's league as a passer. And with that big play passing game that Justin Herbert can bring, his accuracy, his sheer arm talent, mobility too, he's got it all. It forces teams. It's going to be a pick your poison. Hey, listen, if we go big to counter out them going big and we bring a lot of people close to the line of scrimmage, Herbert will kill us. If we stay playing small, we're going to get run over, right? The Chargers, with the moves they made, specifically the hiring of Greg Roman, recognizing a weakness in the rest of the National Football League, have put themselves in a position where they can beat almost any team offensively. No one's paying attention to this move and this strategy, but I think when the regular season comes around in a few short months, people will start to see what Harbaugh is doing in Los Angeles, this move, this concept, and it'll result in a lot of wins and I think a lot of great offensive success for the Chargers.